Hello everybody, my name's James. Welcome to the Planet FPL Game Week 3 Deadline stream in partnership with FPL Team. And it's live. It is 10:04 AM and over the next 55 minutes or so, I will try and answer as many of your FPL dilemmas as possible ahead of the 11 AM UK time deadline. Before I do, I recommend to everybody take a look at the graphics because the question you ask may be answered on screen. Firstly, my wildcard team. Top right hand corner, there is one change from what I'd mentioned on the Ask James stream yesterday. It's Nedlikovic in for Ezri Konsa. I came to the conclusion that I didn't need the 4.5 spot at the moment because I'd be quite happy regularly to play that back three. The week that I'd be most nervous about it is the next week. Nedlikovic has Everton at home. If he plays, if there's a doubt about it, just play Porro. I think we've got three powerful defenders like that. They should be playing most weeks. So I've downgraded that. And that was doubly decided by the overnight price changes where I got stitched up a little bit. I did have a plan B in place that meant going Smith Rowe, Madueke and Vissa, waiting on price rises rather than Bumo, Muniz and Rogers, but decided to stick to my original plan because I think this is the one that involves the least transfers for me planning ahead, and I would quite like to leave this to around about game week 6. Target at that point would be the third Arsenal player. And there's a couple of ways of doing that, sort of like Robertson to Saliba or Isak to Havertz. Might even be someone to Raheem Sterling, maybe even. Unlikely. That's the plan for sort of game week 6. Then I need to think about City, obviously. It's part why Bumo's in place. Could even be that I decide to do something at that point like Isak to Vissa and one of the 4.0s even to Saliba. Couple of options at play. I'd like to leave it for a few weeks. I suspect the FPL gods won't allow that. So I'm lining up this week, in any case, Raya, Porro, Trent, Robertson, Saka, Bumo, Palmer, Jota, Watkins, Muniz, Isak on the bench, Fabianski, Rogers, Nedlikovic, Wout Faes. I don't anticipate this changing unless there is something dramatic in the news in the next 50 minutes or so. I'd be amazed if I end up changing that. So that's the intention. That's the plan. Captaincy is on Cole Palmer. I intend in game week 4 and 5 to compete against the big two with Jota / Watkins. Then Saka in place for captaincy in game week 6. That's the plan. Some of you will like it. Some of you will hate it. Guess what I'm doing, kids? I'm playing it my way. Captaincy, Haaland over Palmer for me this week. Then Saka, then Salah, and probably Kevin De Bruyne to make up the top 5. Couple of notes for patrons from yesterday's Patreon content as well. I have bottled the prediction of Tottenham to win. I've changed my prediction to 1-1 because of Tottenham's lack of a recognised number 9. Sonny will obviously play there. I get that, but I think it causes problems for us that I don't like and has made me a little bit more nervous about the game. By the way, I'll be ending this stream bang on at 11 o'clock so I can spend a little bit of time with my son before I go up to Newcastle this afternoon. There was one change to the predicted lineups from the team news stream I did for advanced tier patrons yesterday as well. That's because Billy Gilmour's completed move from Brighton to Napoli. So Carlos Baleba is in my predicted Brighton lineup. None of you fantasy heads give a shit about that. Please take note of the benching dilemmas graphic right here, where there are two players together. The player with the tick is the preferred option to start from those players. They run in order, pages 1 to 4, and then there's goalkeepers on page 5. Right at the bottom of the screen, you can see all the current flags as per taken and stolen from, I'm joking, just taken from FPL's website. And you'll also have the next 5 fixtures for all the teams as well. Bottom right hand corner, you will see my predicted lineups for all 20 teams going around on the graphics as well. So, without further ado, let's get into the questions. My toast is first. Says, hi James. Odegaard and Porro to Palmer and Pau Torres -4. Wildcard 6 would captain Palmer over Haaland. Now, I suppose I guess is the element of that as well. You possibly don't want to look at Odegaard and Porro next week. Wildcard 6 feels like, take more of a chance without Porro as well and come back for Arsenal. Yeah, I get it. Whether it's worth the -4 feels a bit debatable. Also moving the captaincy off of what I believe is the strongest candidate. I don't mind it though. Like if you believe Palmer's truly the best, I don't hate that. I think that's reasonable, mate. My friend Billy Taylor's in says, "Hey Jimbo, hope all is well. I'm wildcarding game week 8, and I now can't read the message because I put my pin message there. What do you think scores more until then? Palmer and Watkins or Haaland and Neto plus 4 points? The latter option leaves very tight for future moves." Yeah, I guess the answer to that, Billy, is how often are you going to captain Haaland in there? Because if you said me, bro, well, I'm going to captain Haaland in 3, 4, and 7, well, it's probably that, isn't it? Not wildly keen on Neto as an option. I feel like he'd probably be a bit of an assist merchant, but goals feel more important in FPL this season. Snicko says, thoughts on the best 4.5 million mid? Still, Bergvall was someone that plays 90 minutes like Robin and Winks. Also is an Ipswich defender. Davis, Ben Johnson, too much for a risk on wild card. I mean, there's no certainty that Ben Johnson will play over Twanzebe. And we do think Ipswich will go back to a back 4 now. Davis, I'm not keen on because Jack Clark's going to come into that team and he's a bit of a ball hogger who can hold the touchline, kind of a la a Jack Grealish. So I don't know if it restricts his open play threat quite a bit. That said, I get the comparisons with Alfie Doughty, and so many of his attacking returns last year came from set plays. And in Jacob Greaves, Ipswich certainly have a target. I think if I was to go an Ipswich defender right now, it'd be Greaves. He's almost certain to start. That feels like, if that's what matters to you most, that feels like the safest way to go. Bergvall is not going to be starting for quite a while. Despite his undoubted talent, we don't know if he can go more than 45 minutes. All the other 4.5 million midfielders are shits, mate, so it really doesn't matter. I note that Matthias Francher dropped to 4.4 overnight, and it's a case to say, just do that, because it might give you the difference that saves you from making an early transfer in the next few weeks. If I had to go with one at 4.5, I would probably go with Ibrahim Sangare, but that's even a little bit more doubtful now that Forest has signed James Ward-Prowse. But I think that will become probably Forest midfield too, is Ward-Prowse and Sangare. So if I had to, it's probably Sangare. Everton have brought in Oral Mangala on loan. James Garner's come back from injury and is available. So that's 2 players who immediately put a threat on Irogbenham, right? Just don't overstress it, mate. They're all shit, pal. Harry Scott says, morning, James. I started with Haaland and Salah with intention of downgrading one this week to start spreading the funds to either Palmer or Watkins. Which would you recommend? Again, captaincy is so relevant in this. So if you didn't intend to captain Haaland this week, then that's the one, isn't it? But you probably did next week. But then Salah's very competitive with it. Game week 5 looks the most difficult one for captaincy, and that's where Salah will cover you best. I feel like the sensible answer there is to say Haaland, but that's never a sensible answer. JP says, how long should I hold Gordon and Isak for? Need to sell Murphy soon. Murphy went down again last night, did he? Maybe. If not, then it's happening very soon. This week. And maybe Wolves, subject to what Wolves do today, because we expect Wolves to potentially change system a little bit. So ideally the next 2. I've held on to Isak. I've got 0.4 in the bank. I absolutely feel like I can absorb a price drop and not be forced into the temptation to make an early transfer if I'd say sort of 0 in the bank. My intention, as kind of already said earlier, is if Isak doesn't find his mojo in the next 3, then it's to Havertz or Visser for me in game week 6. Ian PTSD says, morning, James. Hope you and the family are well. Who would you remove to get Rodgers, Smith Rowe, or Ben Brereton Diaz? Would likely be wildcard 6. Also, of whichever I keep, would you bench them or João Pedro? So I'd probably play over João Pedro this week. It's Arsenal away, right? And he might end up, where he's been playing, he might end up doing quite a bit of Odegaard tracking, which is quite scary. He may not, by the way, for clarity, but he may end up doing that sort of role. I think, unfortunately, it's probably been Ben Brereton Diaz. You've got the value that's being saved in Smith Rowe as well, Ian. Eros Milicevic says, hello, James, I really want to start Rodgers, but I have no clue who to bench. My other attackers are Saka, Gordon, Eza, Jota, Haaland, Isak, and Muniz. Yeah, from that, it's similar to me, mate. I'm just leaving him on the bench, mate. I intend to start Rodgers in game weeks 4 and 5 in place for Boomer. Brock Christensen Melanso, great name. which I probably butchered, so sorry. Good morning, James. Play Smith Rowe or Wood? Cheers. With the fixture, that would be Chris Wood for me. Home game. Forest haven't brought forward, as far as I'm aware, overnight. So, yeah, leaving it there. Oh, okay. I thought Suja just sent me a wildcard team for a second. He hasn't. Good luck, boss, if you're watching live from Portugal. Patrick Cliver, not he, but the other one, says, hi, James. Hope you're well. Start one of Mitoma, Welbeck, and Greaves. Welbeck, talisman, likes to go against his old clubs. From that, it's probably the one. Jack Murphy says, hi. I'm just going to say talisman. Talisman is incorrect, sorry. Likes to go against his old clubs, let's say that. Jack Murphy, hi James. Original plan was Nkunku to Rodgers, but I have enough to upgrade to Jota. Easy choice, right? Plan is wildcard game week 6. Oh, even more so on that, Jack. Yeah. I mean, Jota for 4-5. Yeah. Yeah, I've been high on Jota. I think everyone knows that. JP says, how much do you think West Ham improve under Lopetegui? Is Rodri back? Rodri is available for selection. I'm not convinced he'll start, though. Really early to say on Lopetegui. Disappointed in game week 1. Great result last week. I don't think it's going to be the thrilling football that West Ham fans particularly want, but I think he's a very good and experienced manager. And with what they've built through the transfer window, they should finish top half, really. And West Ham fans will tell you more, by the way. Kari says, hi James, I hold with Bellis and Costa. That's Neliakovic, obviously the best 4.0 options on wildcard. Don't want to spend 0.1 on Fast. Cheers. Yeah, I get that. So Wout Fast is in for me because I got him in earlier the week of 4.0. Yeah, Greaves another alternative. It does look like the Southampton guys might be the next to go up, and frankly, that's the only reason for Fast. It's not, I think he's better than Harwood Bellis or Greaves or any. He's just the one I've got the value in, and he's the highest scoring one. And why is the highest scoring one? He'll get interest from people. Oh, I want a 4.0. Let's look at the players. Oh, okay, he's the highest. We'll take that one. So that's the only reason why Fast is in for me, because I've got the value held in it. It's just something I don't need to worry about for a while. And their fixtures aren't terrible. But yes, at this stage, yeah, I would go one to 4.0s rather than Fast. Atul Balaji says, should I start Hall home to Tottenham or Aït-Nouri away to Forest? Neither keeps a clean sheet, I'd guess. Aït-Nouri definitely plays, though. Is it inconceivable that Aït-Nouri plays a higher position today as well? Atul, we're thinking that we probably get something a bit different from Wolves today. We don't quite know what that looks like. I'm predicting a 4-3-3, which has still got Aït-Nouri at left back, but with Cunha coming off the left, that would allow him to go. Bit a la sort of Leif Davis, Ipswich, what we saw with Vardiel last year, could be quite interesting. It's not to say they'll do that, it's just what I've gone with as a prediction. So yeah, on that, probably Aït-Nouri. You know he's going to play. PT92 says, morning James, Watkins in for Isak this week or roll? Bench Isak, Smith Rowe, Muniz or Rodgers? I mean, with reluctance, probably be Rodgers from that set of players, I think. Just go Smith Rowe over Rodgers. They're right next to each other on the bench in dilemmas, by the way, guys. I know that's going to be a popular one, is Smith Rowe versus Rodgers. We've just got a small favouritism for Smith Rowe. Just on the base of him to potentially be a talisman where, you know, Villa could win 3-1 and Watkins hoovers it all up, for example. So I'd bench Rodgers from that week. I think for me, Isak at home, Watkins away, any doubt, roll. I think is the better advice at this moment in time. But also, inevitably, unless Watkins gets injured today or over the international break, that is a transfer that you are going to make in game week 4. I have no doubt. Martin King says, not finished his bacon butter yet. I'm always late, Martin. It's fashionable. Dana J says, hi, James. Hope you have a good wild card. Just one question. Isak to Watkins this week on next. Can also do Muniz to Watkins next week. Keep Isak. What would you do? I mean, look, I've got all 3. But as kind of explained above, I would roll. Any doubt like that this week, I'd roll. Jerry says, hi, James. I have 1.5 in the bank, 1 free transfer. My plan this game week is Bruno to Rodgers, which allows me to do Saka to Salah in 4 and Hall to Robertson in 5. Would you get Salah or Robbo in first, or Salah or Robbo first in game week 4? Who's selling here? Saka and Hall. It should be quite tempted just to do both. But again, I don't like -4s for defenders particularly. But if Hall didn't look like he was going to start, then there'd be enough justification for that, I think. James Brennan says, hi James, messed up. Salah is the answer though, isn't it? The power first. James Brennan says, hi James, messed up on wildcard and forgot I needed Jota's price-wise. Would you put Diaz in instead or drop to Rodgers and get Saliba for Greaves? Thanks. I don't quite get out of that. So Jota would still feel like the priority for me, mate. Drop to Rodgers. You don't have to spend the money. That you could take a view with Greaves and go, look, I'll take it for the next 3 and then move to Saliba if I want to in 6. I looked at one draft last night. At one stage was going to be leaving 2.4 million in the bank, and it wasn't inconceivable. I went with that because I wanted to do what I would want to do in future weeks, and I think that sort of thing is way more viable this year than it would have been in previous years. We'd have gone, don't do that, just take hits. But the ability to roll those transfers and then manipulate mini wildcards feels nice. So for me, the answer would be drop to Rodgers there, James. Lackland says, after rough start at 5 million plus rank, looking to upgrade Hall to Van Dijk, Robertson at 6 million. Next game week, thoughts on who's better? There's a clue. Top right corner of the screen is my team, mate. Bart Spillers says, bench one of Rodgers, Saliba or Porro. Currently Porro bench. Yeah, I would go Rodgers over Porro. For me, Porro's obviously going in because that's, for me, is the third best defender I've got this week, in my opinion. Chris Church, anyone got racist tickets? Didn't apply. JP says, what are your thoughts on the most interesting deadline signings that can have an FPL impact? In my opinion, Chalobah and Gay will be a solid defence for Palace. Yep, could be. Sterling could be, I joked about it at the start, but it could become interesting in terms of his potential impact on Arsenal, because he will be involved. He's not just going to sit on the bench. I don't think there's anything that Saka owners should be particularly concerned about, but yeah, I wouldn't be totally shocked if we land in 2 months and Sterling is playing first choice for Arsenal, and that might even be interesting. It really could be, if that's how it looks. You'd be scared though, because there's enough obviously rotation elements there with Martinelli and Trossard. I do think Trossard will probably start at lunchtime today. Yeah, there's a few. Let's skip. That's more like let's have a conversation on Wednesday on the Clayton and James show. My homie says, hi James, good luck with your wild card start to Munoz, Robinson and Johnson. Robinson, Munoz, mate. Voya says, hi James, bench one of Rodgers, Smith Rowe, Gibbs White. It's going to be Rodgers again. Dan, would you play Porro over Robinson? The answer to that is yes. They're right next to each other on the bench in dilemmas. Keith Rowley says, good morning, James. Hope you're well. No questions per normal. Just checking on you. Good luck. I'm well. Thank you, Keith, and hope you are too. Good luck. Lander says, morning, James. Best of luck with the wild card. Would you go Emmy and Robbo or Raya and Konsa on wild card? Emmy and Robbo or Raya and Konsa on wild card? Emmy and Robbo or Raya and Konsa? I mean, Raya and Konsa for me. And that's also like a million saving, or am I reading that completely wrong? Feels that way, so that feels like the more sensible advice at this stage. Right, now you lot have all seen my team. Let's share it with the Twitter brigade and mute my tweet. I've given a link to the stream. I think I'm being clever. Curry says, hi James, is a hokey plan with Boomer and Mitoma for Gameweek 3, 6 worth of transfers since Gameweek 6 and 7 will be focused on bringing in Arsenal, maybe Haaland. The answer therefore is no, I think. I also think, by the way, if I get a midfield injury this week, unless it's to Rodgers, that Eze would be my go-to next week, and I'd just carry him for the longer process. That would be the thinking at this stage. So no, the value of those two transfers versus what it can do for you powerfully later on. I mean, one of Boomer's games, let's be honest, is Tottenham away, and I'll probably end up benching him in that, and guess what? I'll probably regret it. Maestro18 says, hey James, hope you're having a brilliant Saturday. I'm funding Solanke to Watkins, need 1.5 million. Porro to Nelikovic or Odegaard to Eze. Just trying to think if it was next week. the real temptation would be there to go Odegaard to Eze. So I think like being ahead of the crowd, I don't mind that. But you are also realistically making that team weaker this week. Whereas Porro to Nedeljkovic, it doesn't feel quite that way, and I get that. Because it comes down to structure, what you want to be later on. Like, you know, what if you decide, oh shit, I want to go back to Porro and stuff. Like what does that look like? Odegaard, you'll feel like more of a sacrifice, I think. I'm going to say the Eze route. That's what I'm going to say. I'm going to say the Eze route. Peter says, morning James, best of luck this game. It'd be interesting to hear your thoughts on Raheem to Arsenal. Yeah, look, Arsenal have got a more experienced attacking player in and let the likes of obviously Reece Nelson go. I think he went. Did that deal to Fulham go through last night? I feel like it probably did, but now I'm not sure actually. Reece Nelson, did he go to Fulham? I really should know this. I'm so sorry. Reece Nelson. Search. Yes. Went through to Fulham. Went through at Fulham announced at 1:30 a.m. That's why I missed it. Yeah, so it gives them experience. Champions League is going to be more taxing with the way the fixtures work out, although I think Arsenal have got a pretty good draw there. So yeah, it's fine. It sounds like they've got a decent deal out of it in terms of like they're not taking all the salary off Chelsea. It was a move Sterling had to make to go somewhere, so he's going to be happier getting rotational minutes rather than no minutes. It was going to be at Chelsea. So yeah, I think from Arsenal's perspective, I get it. The squad from that perspective, like Sterling coming in for Nelson, they're not weaker. They bring an experienced player in, which could be useful. Arteta knows him, so he worked with him obviously at Manchester City. Do I think it's probably past its moment? In all honesty, yes. But if it's going to be used as a rotational backup, then I don't have a problem for that. From Arsenal's perspective, as long as they've not been done over on the wages, and it sounds like they probably haven't actually. So, Howard Green says, afternoon James, good luck one and all for round 3. Smash a like and subscribe. Yes, freeloaders, smash a like and subscribe. There's about 15% of you have done so. It doesn't cost anything. Come on, hit those fun buttons, guys. Just had the real urge to double check on my wildcard to make sure that I did actually make the plan changes that I wanted to this morning. Because the team last night was looking an absolute shit show because I was obviously trying to play the value. J. Lord Broski says, hey James, hope you're well. Dreading tomorrow. The whole club seems to be screwing itself over. Doesn't matter the last 2 results against you. I think the atmosphere will be toxic and can only see a loss. This is what I've been talking about. And the honest answer is, J-Lo, and it's not people, oh, you're Tottenham, you're biased. People may remember that 2 years ago, when Tottenham went to Newcastle, I went on the stream and predicted Newcastle would beat Tottenham 4-0. And I'm fairly certain I predicted Newcastle beat Tottenham in April as well. I feel the vibes. I keep hearing it from all of you Newcastle fans. It feels like that, yes. I don't think the atmosphere will be toxic there, though. I can't see it being toxic. Be surprised. I'll let you all know on Monday on the Gameweek review. Owen White says, you talked about the Brighton and Brentford defensive rotation a lot. I really like the Pedro and Bumo rotation for the 7th attacking starting spot. Have you considered Pedro? Of course I considered Pedro. Yeah, the conclusion I came to on Muniz over João Pedro is a little bit like the conclusion I came to on Muniz versus Wood prior to game week 1. Was like, if I have to get stuck in the position, what would I rather? And Muniz's fixtures just longer term are just so much better. Whereas Pedro, yeah, great, 4-5. But then in between 6 and 11, he's got Chelsea away, Newcastle away, Liverpool away, and Tottenham and Man City at home. It's not great. And at that point, he'd be playing so little. I'd be picking Pedro free, I think, out of the next 9 weeks. And at that point, it's probably time to look elsewhere. Whereas I'm holding probably Rodgers as perfect cover for him in 4-5 for Villa's 2 best fixtures, and then can reassess, and that's a little bit of an obviously lower adjustment for an 8th attacker. But yeah, of course I considered João Pedro. In fact, when I woke up this morning and looked at the team, João Pedro was sitting in there because of the value aspect. So was Haaland, by the way, and I did still take him out. So yeah, he was absolutely under consideration. And it's not impossible that if I hate something here, that I go Isak into Pedro for 2 games. If Isak got injured, for example, and then move that back onto Vissa or Havertz. So, but again, it's arguably looking at hitting 6 and going, I'm going to move him on. Whereas if I get stuck with Muniz, I'm a bit happier with that. So that was the difference between the two. Will Grenville says, who's had the best transfer window? Listen, it's never who we think it is, but I'm very tempted to say Ipswich. Gurav Ranjan says, morning James, Son to Palmer, sensible. And should I lose Diaz or Jota to get Salah in the next few? Son to Palmer, sensible, yes. Should I lose Diaz or Jota to get Salah next few? Cheers. Wouldn't lose Jota. Diaz, but I'd leave that for now, mate. Noel Brennan says, morning James, good morning Noel. Eddie R says, morning James, starts 2 out of Udogi, Hall or Harwood Bellis. Cheers. I'd go with Destiny, mate. The other one, Hall or Harwood Bellis. I mean, away fixture, Harwood Bellis. I would chance my arm with Hall. Sage says, morning James, thanks for your content. Who would you bench out? Smith Rowe, Munoz, Rogers. Munoz from that. Nigel Sam says, good luck James. Thoughts on Robertson and 4 million defender or Trent and Konsa / Rico Lewis. The Trent option, mate, is going to be the answer every time for me at the moment. It's what it could be. Zubin says, Costa Nedeljkovic in to raise funds and then do Solanke to Watkins. Fine. I just add some... We're pretty confident Nedeljkovic starts this week. Emery spoke about using another youngster who is not a right back, I believe, potentially to cover that position. They've been training that way. Fairly sure Nedeljkovic starts. Also, Diogo Carlos is out injured, so I think that really helps this week. A Carlos return next week could force the change at right back, where maybe Konsa moves there. Or they try this, is it Balcom? I think, apologies, I forget. They could try the other lad if this goes wrong. So all I would say on Nedeljkovic, like, it's absolutely fine. I've gone with him. And if I'm comfortable he starts next week, he may even start for me over Porro when Tottenham play Arsenal. But don't be putting him in thinking you're starting him every week. That would be the strong advice at the moment. You need to have the cover and the potential to change that. John Bailey says, what do you think of Bumo captain? I think Southampton have looked okay defensively, not so much last week against Forest, and Brentford may expose that pace in a similar way. I'd just be uncomfortable, I think, captain the player that I know they're probably going to get really done over for possession, and that might play to their benefit. I don't know if there's enough there to feel that vibe for a Bumo captain. If you really feel strongly that you want to go for it, I don't mind it. Fixtures there. I'd rather leave that one at the moment till I've got a little bit more information on the promoted clubs, would probably be my take at this moment. For someone like a Bumo, like if you captain like a Salah against them, like, of course, get it. For a Bumo captaincy against them, I probably want a bit more info, would be my take at the moment. NM0212, I have a major benching headache. I have to decide on 2 sets of players. First set, Konsa or Porro, benching dilemmas, and the second set is benching one of Smith Rowe, Muniz, Eze or Rogers. All on the benching dilemmas. Pretty confident. Yeah, they'll all be on there, mate. Benching dilemmas, guys. If you've got those questions and you can see the answers on the screen via the benching dilemmas, run pages 1 to 5. Please delete, because I'm just going to send you that way now, because I feel like I've answered these questions a few times. But thank you for the question. Ross Johnson says, morning, James. Do you think McDonald's should cook their bacon a bit more rather than just leaving it on the radiator to cook for 2 minutes? Yeah, I prefer a crispy. Yeah. CJ Stucks, who should I captain out of Salah and Saka? Bruv, I know you're regularly on these streams, and I put my top 10 preference for captaincy there every week. JP says, thoughts on Sterling signing? Will he get into the team? I've covered this. Tristan Day says, hi James, would you wildcard a team with Chaddy, Riyad, Barco, Kwanzaa, Hall, Murphy, Wood and Henderson? Yeah, because that's way too in trouble defensively, isn't it? Yeah. Andy Max says, morning James, on wildcard need help. Can't decide which premium trio. Which do you prefer? Why? Well, I've picked it, haven't I? Haaland, Saka, Palmer, weak team. Haaland. Okay, weak team. Saka, Palmer, Haaland, and Jota. Salah, Palmer, Saka, Watkins. At the moment, the Salah route. Edwin Grand start. Rogers, Morgan, Gibbs White. Gibbs White the home fixture. Noel Brennan, Morning James. Would you go for Haaland and Winks to Palmer and Watkins? Otherwise, we'll have to start either Winks or Minter in midfield. Enjoy the trip up north later. Do you not want Haaland there next week? I get it. And you're going to want to go Watkins next week. Okay, if you plan to do it, yeah, sure. Joseph Robinson, Sterling at Arsenal means more pens for Saka, I would imagine. I don't think that's going to make a difference. Jock says, good morning, James. Want to get rid of Murphy. Might wildcards, game week 4. 7.3 in the bank. Best game week 3 punt, please. If not wildcard 4, best 6.8 or below mid, please. So for now, Boomo. If not wildcard 4, Smith Rowe. I mean, Madueke is a punt. It really is a punt. I don't think he's a certain starter. Chris Randall says, I have the exact cash in the bank to swap Muniz to Watkins. Do I take a 4-point penalty? And if not, if Watkins has a good game, do I pull the trigger immediately after when it's international break? Look, particularly if you've rolled transfers, so if you haven't used a transfer yet and you're going into game week 3 with 3 free transfers, game week 4, 3 free transfers, and you want to make an early transfer, you go ahead, good luck. If you're going into this with 1 free transfer, I would recommend with an international break probably not doing that this week. So I get the temptation of wanting to do the transfer now. Is that worth a -4 with Muniz playing Ipswich away? It's probably not. They've got a very similar fixture, haven't they? Does it have to be done now? Does it have to be done as an early? See, the thing is as well, what's worth saying, consider this as well. I don't know when you bought Muniz, but if you've had him since the start, there's every chance he'll hit 6.2 over the break. So that will hit 6.1. Then you don't need to rush for Watkins at all. I'd wait. Colin Johnson says, morning James, rolling into 3 transfers, then assessing after the international break, maybe wildcarding in 4. Got Hall, Barker, Kwanzaa and Solanke. Yeah, I'd probably fix something there out of that defensive lot, mate. David Lund says, morning James, do you no longer like Jota captain? I have neither Salah and Haaland are flip-flopping between Jota, Saka and KDB. No, I'm fine with Jota captain. It's just a really tough fixture this week, mate. I don't think that would be the choice this week. The reality is you're probably always going to pick Salah over Jota, right? I think. Salah is just any game all the time. Jota, you're looking at potential restricted minutes. Who knows if the game's going wrong? Is he sacrificed earlier? I don't think that will be the case. But to look at this week and think Jota was the best captaincy, I might go into game week 4 and captain him myself. This week, no. Frank Siegel says, hi James, is Magoma a risk to Christopher Aguer's minutes? I want a nailed Brentford defender. I think you'll find Rico Henry as a bigger threat to that, mate. And he's very nearly fit. Magoma's a young player they got in last night from Southampton. He was also on Tottenham's books. And he left because he wanted £6,000 a week at Southampton. Greg Frost says, hi James, did Ahmad... That's reported, by the way, before I get done for libel. Greg Frost says, hi James, did Amadou Bumo captain in the end? Enjoy your trip to the Toon. I hope you have time for a pint. Afterwards, after the game, no, very unlikely, unfortunately. Andreas says, morning James, would you switch after either Bruno or Eze for Jota or just stick for this week? That's a stick, mate. Elron Cupboard. Apart from Shearer, which 90s Premier League striker do you think would smash it nowadays? Celez for me. Yeah, I mean, there's a few. Andrew Cole, Teddy, still had the intelligence. Ian Wright, Dwight York, Stan Collymore, Peak Stan. Peak Stan would have done... I think Peak Stan Collymore, with all the modern stuff, could have been an absolute animal. So there, I'm going to say Stan Collymore. There you go, there's one for you. Eddie R says, hey James, have exact money to do Solanke to Watkins, but then we'll have a benching headache. Is it worth it or just roll and move to João Pedro next week to afford Trent Salah next week? And see what you're doing here. I think Solanke's a move, mate. Don't overplay that or overthink that. You've got an injured player. He's got Arsenal next fixture. You know, the value isn't going to hold now for him. Now, this lot is going to go. I'd be going Watkins, mate. Hillbilly says, hey James, already used 2 free transfers and still might need a wild card soon. How would you value the extra info over the international break versus getting my free transfers back by wild carding tonight already have drafts set to go. Listen, if I intended to wildcard in Game Week 4, I'd be activating tonight. Yeah, once I got the information of today's games. Yeah, I'd be getting it done, mate. Can't see if you know you're going to wildcard in Game Week 4. What reason is to wait? So you sound like you got a plan. See how you feel after the games today. I think it's quite important. So all activate at 2:00. No, don't do that. Just in case the players you want all get injured today, because that would maybe change things for you. So wait till tonight. Activate it tonight if you're still comfortable, mate. Daniel Burton says bench one of Bumo, Eze, Rogers. Rogers will bench Bumo this week. My goodness, that would not be on the agenda. We are circa 20 minutes away from deadline, by the way, guys. For our patrons, if we've got any confirmed of Arsenal Brighton or any other news, please drop me a tag on Slack, and we'll get it shared with the people here. Hillbilly says, that's what I've done. Nassar, best option for this game at Isak or Vissa? Isak, I think. Still. Power. David Passamar says, bench Porro or Rogers. I'd play Rogers over Porro this week, yeah. Karen Chemo says, bench one between Robinson, Lewis and Colwell. Robinson, Lewis and Colwell. If you've got Lewis, you're playing it, and it's like it is what it is. So, I think the answer there is Colwell. There's still definitely problems with Chelsea there defensively, isn't there, that we need ironing out. And Colwell's unlikely to get you attacking returns, so I'd go with the other two. Thank you very much, FPL Cockney Reds. FPL Ibro says, hey James, pick two of Rogers, João Pedro and Kunku. Yes, I'm still holding on Kunku. You're answering your own question now. I don't need to add anything, mate. It's a shame, but we need to... I was so high on him. I absolutely, if I'd not bench boosted in Game Week 1, absolutely he would be in my team right now. And I'd be like, oh my God, what am I doing? Now, obviously, if I was wildcarding, he wouldn't be there. But if I wasn't wildcarding, he would have been first on the chopping block for me. Get rid. Going to keep hemorrhaging value over this period unless he scores tomorrow, and I don't think he starts. Could he score off the bench? He could, He really could, because I actually don't doubt him and his ability as a player, but he's got to go, mate. 2 away games next anyway. Yeah, go, mate. Yvette, check the graphic. Bench one of Hudson-Odoi, Semenyo, Rogers or Smith-Rowe. Thank you very much for that, Yvette. Hudson-Odoi not on there. Yeah, it's probably the order you say. Hudson-Odoi, I think, with the fixture would be a start, particularly considering what Wolves were defensively last week. So it's same answer as what the graphic will show. Semenyo over Smith-Rowe over Rogers. Cole MCC says, hi, James, bench Rogers, Smith-Rowe and Muniz. They're all on the bench in dilemmas, mate. Reece Ferguson, Semenyo and Pedro, or Minto and Evan Nilsson. Good luck this game week. Option 1, mate. Cal says, morning, James. Bruno to Bumo this game week. Wildcard for game week 4. Also, we're talking 1 week punt territory. Yeah, don't mind that. Just trying to think if there's a better one for you. No, don't mind that. Yeah, don't mind that. Adam says, hi, James. Would you consider -4 for Garnacho to Eza? No, I wouldn't do that for a -4. No. Next week, we might be having a different conversation if Garnacho doesn't start tomorrow, but I think he will. Felix says, any news on Rico Lewis starting? No, not that I've seen or am aware, but again, a repeat to a shout out for our patrons. If there is any news going around, please drop me a tag on Slack and we'll get it shared. JF, no Oasis tickets, mate. No, my gig days are long done, mate. Fan, I hope people go and enjoy it. Yes. Do I want to go that badly? No. Mike Chang says, would you transfer Saka for Palmer this week? Sorry if it's already been asked. Probably not. Purely as well, I get it this week. It's the Saka game week 6 thing. And then you're weighing it up. You're selling him and then you're getting him back. I probably wouldn't. That's hence why I've got both, by the way. Jedi Stew says, hi James, my captain options are Salah, Muniz, Smith-Rowe, Bruno, Isak. Your advice on which one, please? As per the top captaincy graphic on screen, mate, we'll answer your question. Go down from 1 to 10, and the one nearest to the top is your answer. Matthew M says, hi James, on wildcard, Raya and 6.5 million midfielder, Madueke / Garnacho, or rotating keepers for Brugg and Fleck and Bumo. I've gone the rare option, so I can only advise the same, mate. Reese Rudd says, hi, James. For Eze out for Bailey. Good move. You've done it, mate. So I've got no interest in telling you whether it's good or bad, mate. Good luck. Jimmy says, start Murphy or Minter. Cheers. I think Murphy will start, and I'd probably go that way. Minter almost definitely starts. I get that. I'll go Murphy, personally. Gary Griffin says bench one between Trent, Vardio and Lewis. Lewis, because he's the one there that I think isn't a certain starter. Scott Hutchinson says bench Isak or Jota. Jota. Although the correct answer there really is neither, Scott. Like, if you're going like a Rodgers over them two, like, I would be benching Rodgers as an example. Yeah, Muniz, I'd probably still be going those two. Muniz, Jota may be closer. Matt Baggs says, morning, James. Sorry I've covered already. Thoughts on Isak to Watkins? I have covered, so I'm going to skip Matt. Thank you for the question. John Sully, hi, James. Can't understand the Porro pick. Never thought of him long term. Also, are you not afraid of Jota rotation during Champions League? I'm absolutely shitting myself, mate. I'm not sure if I'll sleep well. Look at the rest of my team and answer which one do you think are rotation threats. Yeah, we'll go with Diogo. If you're going Diogo and you're going other wild ones, you're like, yeah, I'm going to go Trossard and this, that and the other. Like, it's a problem, isn't it? Like, at the moment, that's the only one. The rest of them are like, look at the starting team. The rest of that is pretty secure, isn't it? It's not to say they're guarantees, but they're pretty secure. And that's definitely been in my mindset, knowing that, of course, Jota could get a rotation during that period. And we don't know when Liverpool's fixtures are as yet. It might be Liverpool got a nice home game in between 4 and 5. What's going to influence Jota is not whether he's in my team, those Champions League fixtures. It's going to influence whether I captain him or not. Because for me, captain in 4 and 5 is Jota or Watkins. That's the plan at the moment. GTW says, and I don't do this scared thing, John. But what worries you most this week? The guy in the black and white shirt in my team is what worries me most this week. Not because he's in my team, it's because what he might do to my actual team tomorrow. GTW says, I'm going Boomo captain. I wish you luck. Elron Cupboard says, any chance of doing a piece on classic Serie A for Clayton and James? That's probably a longer piece, isn't it? Plus, Clayton's only 29, so classic. You're not with Clayton, and I don't think Suj would have watched enough of it. So maybe something my man James Johnson, one of our patrons, maybe we'll do a Serie A nostalgia one day. Yeah, maybe an international break. It won't be this one though. As far Tariq says, who should I pick for 4.5 million forward? Are all of them dead assets? Currently on Joe. I don't know who he is. It's all shit, mate. It's all shit. Didn't they remove quite a number last night, I think, didn't they? Which is good. Get these dead players out of the game. Sam Peverick says, play Bowen or Rodgers. Thank you, boss man. That's close. Despite the fixture, that's close because we know Jared Bowen's capability undoubted. And it is at home. That's close. Rodgers. Just about. Honestly, that's close. Anthony Swanipole 98 says, what's your overall points? Oh, God. 93 plus 75, whatever that equals. 168, isn't it? I think. 122k for those care. It doesn't really matter at this stage, does it? But the only reason I put it in my tweet is because I know someone's going to ask. Jared 1993 says, morning, James. Been seriously considering wildcard. I'm down to Smith Rowe, Saka, Evan Nilsson versus Jota, Watkins and Adama. You've got Evan Nilsson, we need to see more. Adama is... Yeah, I'd wait, mate. Adam's saying, yeah, like, come on, like, more likes, please, people, for those watching. Yes, thanks, Adam. So start Cunha or Armstrong, James. Oh, Cunha. And a really good, interesting chat. FPL Odyssey, who I recommend for a follow on Twitter. One of our patrons, Alex. We had a really interesting chat about Cunha in midweek, and I actually retweeted some stats on Cunha that he shared yesterday about him, doing well even in tougher fixtures, as we saw again last week. So yeah, Cunha's not a player I don't think I'd be comfortable benching very often. So Cunha. And Cunha, on plans I looked ahead at towards game week 9-10, yeah, Cunha might well be a part of that. Max Black says, do you think FPL Towers have locked Solanke's price at 7.5 because they don't want a Spurs striker to be priced any cheaper? Seemed they did that last year with Haaland when he was out injured. No, I think they did it because he was red flagged and 100% out for around about 5 hours, and then went to an orange 75% flag, and that's what locked him. Nigel Sam says, Trent and Jota and Watkins, or Salah, Konsa and Visser. Trent, Jota, Watkins. I'm tempted to say by miles, but that feels silly when Salah is in the other option. Eddie says, start to Nedeljkovic, Porro, Robinson, please, mate. I'd go Porro, Robinson at this moment. James Brennan, hi James. Where would Pinnock be on the bench in dilemmas? Cheers. He'd be a starter. Almost definitely, because I'm only benching us. Say that again, James. Only back in Arsenal and Brentford for clean sheets this week. Now, obviously, I wouldn't start him over the likes of Trent, but this week I probably would start him over Porro. It's one of the rare ones that I would. So, pretty much, I would say at the top of the defensive players. So, probably in between Armstrong, Porro, which and there's a case to even put him above Armstrong. Above Garnacho, no. Maybe above Armstrong. So, in between Garnacho and Armstrong, maybe. Chad Scott says start Hall or Porro. About 9 minutes of deadline, by the way, guys. If you haven't got a question in yet, there's next to no chance I'm going to get to you, and there's plenty I'm not going to get to, but I'll try my best. Chad Scott says start Hall or Porro. I have Isak. Yeah, I get that. That's the only thing I don't like about my team this week is wildcard and having the player go against each other, but I don't ever expect clean sheets from Porros. He's in for the attacking stuff anyway. That's the conclusion I come to. It's different. If I had Van der Ven this way, I'd be playing Nedeljkovic over Van der Ven. That makes sense. Porro's in for the offensive stuff. The game might be 3-3 and bonkers, right? So he's in for the offensive stuff. Yeah, Porro. Andrew Hickey says, love the visuals on the vid, James. Thank you. That's the great work of Chris Fowler, FPL captain, absolute hero. I'm glad that people are liking it. I think particularly the adapted predicted team news graphic is pretty good. If I do say so myself, and it's all Chris's work. Oliver Filipovsky says Bruno to Bailey if I have Rodgers, or Aina to Nedeljkovic. Isak to Watkins, just one free transfer. Aina's fine this week. Bruno's fine this week. Isak's fine this week. Roll. Adsy says bench one, Eze Wood. What's your overall points? I just answered the overall points, mate. I feel like that was you that asked as well. Eze or Wood? I don't like that, but I would be playing Chris Wood this week. Kevin1234, he's gone from 4 Spurs players to 1 in 2 game weeks. It's good, isn't it? But then that was always the plan. And to be honest, it was 1 or none. Because Porro wasn't a certainty. One of the reasons I really like Porro is I don't like anything else at his value. So it feels like a longer term. I looked at moves around about game 7-8, and in all of them I wanted to kind of get him back in. So I decided to start with him. Yeah, and obviously it was free. It went from 4 Spurs game week 1 to 3 Spurs last week with Solanke's injury. He went, and now it's down to 1. And there's every chance the 1 will be a substitute next week as well. So technically down to 0. Alistair Hargreaves says, do I go Smith Rowe or Bumo or Diaz? And do I take a hit to get Watkins for Isak? What do you want to do with the fixtures? Like, this isn't straightforward. Because I could say, right, Bumo this week, cool. But, like, do you want to look at Bumo away to Man City next week? I don't know what the other players are in your squad. So, for me, with Rodgers, I'm like, okay, we'll bench Rodgers at Manchester City next week. And then I'll take a view afterwards for game week 5, whether I start him or not. That would be my plan currently. What have you got in the rest of your squad? It's not as straightforward as just answering that, is it? But I want to say to you, Bumo. Benji Burrows says, another balled on wildcard here, going with Trent, Saliba, Nedeljkovic and Fass in defence. That nearly looks familiar. Saliba was close for me. Munoz or Milenkovic, and an extra 0.5 in the bank for last spot. Trent, Saliba, Fat. Yeah, don't go another 4.0 when you've got two. You don't want to go third. A few people talking up Milenkovic. And the fact that hopefully you could play Nedeljkovic next week rather than Milenkovic away to Liverpool. I get the appeal of that. I think I'd go Munoz. You can always drop it back down. That feels better, I think. Or it's closer to get it up to Porro if you change something else. Devonshire Hill Lads says, safe trip to Geordieland. I'm hoping Spurs bring home the 3 points Sunday. Good luck on your wildcard. I have a light midfield in mind as there are more options there for me, especially with the Chelsea price. Good luck, mate. Robbie Granger says, morning, James. Should start Gordon or Rodgers? Gordon all day long. Yeah. Got Gordon or Isak this week. That's not a bench. We do not bench players at home to Tottenham if they're attackers. Crow TP, just take that as like a gospel rule. Crow TP says, who to start, Rodgers or Smith Rowe? Thanks in advance. It's on the screen. Benching dilemmas, page 2 probably. Tom Sleeman says, am I mad to be captain Isak? No, do what you like. FPL here, Fishy said, good luck this week, James. No stream for me today. Taking my +2 friends to Greenwich for the day. Street food, lunch, city farm, and a couple of museums. Sounds amazing. Good luck. I can't pronounce your name because it's in a language that I can't pronounce, but it's got K on the end. Hi, James. Hall and Bellis is my third defender. Would you buy an Aston Villa defender? Nedeljkovic helps me buy Salah next game week. I think Nedeljkovic is kind of an ideal one for me on wildcard to go, yeah, this is fine. I'm not sure about people wasting the transfer to buy him. Kind of my take. Get it, you're saying it possibly helps you get Salah next week would be a massive temptation to put him in for Hall, I guess. Okay, yeah, I mean, if it's going to open up the Salah door for you, then yes. T-Tax says, would you use a free transfer for Bruno to Jota, Eze or KDB? No, not at this moment. Next week I might. Nicola Torco says, hi James, who to play? Gibbs White or Morgan Rogers? It's Gibbs White comfortably. Opinion about getting rid of Saka and Isak for Salah and either Welbeck or João Pedro in game week 4. General opinion on Welbeck is a 2-week punt, 4 and 5. Yeah, you just got to consider if it's a 2-week punt, then where are you going from Welbeck in game week 6? If you're wildcarding, I love this. If you're not, I'd be a bit more cautious about it. Greg Frost says, Sancho furthers the chaos. Do you expect one of the Chelsea 6.5s will be viable eventually? That Madueke might be now. It was close for me. I was really hoping he could go up in price last night because I would have nicked the 0.1 off him. And it was a brief temptation to keep hold. I looked at a plan of doing that and it would have meant probably keeping him just this week. And I hated that because of what I want to do around game week 6 and 7. He'd be the one if you want to punt one right now. Dan, my bad. I don't know what that was for, Dan, but don't stress about it. Oh, God, it's about 2 minutes from deadline. Nothing as far as I can see from my patrons in terms of info on any potential team news or anything. Our Arsenal Slack channel is very quiet at the moment. So too the Brighton one. I'm not aware of any team news that's going around at the moment, as far as I can tell. If there is any that's gone round, patrons, throw it my way quickly, please. But I don't believe that there is, as far as I'm... It's not to say there isn't, but not from anything that we would deem reliable at this moment, or I've not been told. But it is about 2 minutes to deadline, guys. Do make sure you're getting those teams locked in. Mine is, and it's I can tell you it's the same as on the screen. This isn't changing. Michelle Banks says, will Kadioglu start today, James? I've got a Estupinanda predicted Brighton team that should pop round on screen for you in a moment. Menem Ahmed says, bench one and Madueke, Wood or Gordon. I think you've done that on purpose, mate. Honestly, from that lot, Chris Wood. As fast as wildcard Trent and Robbo into Man United feels awkward as a United fan, but hopefully work out in future weeks. Good luck. Yes, exactly that. It would look great for 4 and 5. Neil says, thoughts on taking out Gabriel for Robertson next week from wildcard in game week 6. Perfectly reasonable. AAA, the name that is in a different language that I can't really apologize. Please don't ask the same question over and over again. Just denying other people, and I just end up muting people so they're not here next week. AAA says, start Hall or Johnson, save a transfer, or transfer Quansah to Nedeljkovic. Quant's going to burn a big hole for you, isn't he? I think Brennan Johnson does start. I mean, I would start Johnson over Nedeljkovic anyway, I think. So that's probably your answer. Elron covered Magic of the Cup today. Up the yards. Good luck. A Wood says Bruno, Smith-Rowe, Boomer, Jota, Rogers, Watkins, Haaland, Isak. Which one misses out? Rogers. I'd forgotten the rest halfway through, but it's just been the same answer all the way through the stream. You can't say I'm not consistent. Devonshire Hill lad, I'm not reading out your wild card, mate, but I wish you the very best of luck. Rob Sheridan says, hi James, good luck, great content. Bench Gordon, Eze, Rogers, same answer, it's Rogers. Ryan Mack, hi James, best 4.0 defender for wild card. We'll give you away from the East Stand tomorrow. Thanks, mate. Nedeljkovic, I'd be front row. You never know, I might see ya, but I won't know you're waving at me. Jared 1993 says that's front row in the gods, obviously, for those who don't know. Jared 1993 seriously considering the wild card, but would be going without Liverpool attack. Don't be wild carding at this moment. Emmanuel Topo, question series: what does James want more, to win FPL or Spurs win the league? Are you serious, mate? I'd rather just Spurs win tomorrow. You're not really still asking me this sort of shit. Would you Carabao Cup, Community Shield, beat Arsenal next week? Definitely, it's more important to me. FPL is not going to change my life, and I don't suppose I'll ever win it in any case. I'm going to leave it there, guys. Thank you very much. We have hit deadline. I'm going to disappear because I am going north very, very soon. Because I've got to go up because the train strikes now been cancelled, but now it's still an amended timetable, so it's really shit. So we're going up to Newcastle this afternoon. I do want to spend a little bit of time with my boy before I go, so forgive me. Content next week, game review Monday, as long as I get back from Newcastle tomorrow night. Tuesday, Clash of Correspondence, Man City versus Brentford with Johnny Pringle, Tom Med. Wednesday, Clayton and James show. Thursday, another Clash of Correspondence for you. Aston Villa versus Everton, Lee Jackson and Sean Norton. Also got another COTC the week after as well, Fulham versus West Ham with Lewis James and Chris Stone. Ask James next Friday, time to be confirmed. If you want to support the show, it's www.patreon.com/planetfpl. Do it because you want to support the show and allow me to continue doing free deadline streams like this, or because you want the additional content. Podcast next week for intermediate plus tiers and above. Q&A Monday. Tuesday, UCL Fantasy, a closer look at the fixtures. Wednesday, Tottenham, myself and Serge. Thursday, Money and Football, topic to be confirmed. Friday being Dad Year 5. There will also be advanced video tier content next week as well for advanced tier patrons. If you want to support the show, it's www.patreon.com/planetfpl. Sorry for the rushed end to the stream this week. I should, before game week 4, be able to sit here nice and calmly and answer some questions for you after stream. I hope your arrows are green this week. Very best of luck. Have a great weekend, everyone. See you Monday. Ciao for now.